2019. And the number one question I kept receiving during that was, when are we getting bigger? When are we going to expand? What are our plans? So with that, the foundation embarked on our plan to figure out what we needed, what would be involved in an expansion, and what the possibilities were for a modern library that would meet the needs of our community. We visited a number of different libraries that had recently undergone renovations because we knew that we were renovating a space rather than building a entirely new freestanding space. And in June 2021, we had a public survey that was responded to. It had been pretty widely distributed throughout the community. And those survey results helped us narrow down and confirm the needs for what we needed for a new facility. There were a number of space issues that were identified, many of which were the result of the shrinking of the original designs and concepts, but were updated for what we were seeing for current modern needs for our community. We identified the need for additional group areas and meeting spaces and activity spaces. We identified needs for expanding our children's area. We identified a need for teen area. If you've been to the library on a after school or on an early release day, you know how busy the teen area that doesn't really exist, it's just kind of shoehorned in the corner, can get. We also recognized that the staff at the Orono Public Library are really one of the number one assets of the community and of the library. And in the original design to build the building we have now, the staff offices, the workspaces, break room, all of that had been removed. And so we really felt that we needed to honor the staff to make sure that we had appropriate facilities for the staff going forward. And we also have a library that is too small for the collections needed for a community of our size. So we needed to have additional material and collection space, both for adult collections and for children's collections. We just can't keep the materials that we really want to have in a library for a community of our size in the facility that we have. So with that, our expansion goals were to build a community room where we could have large event gatherings, presentations, talks. If you've been to some of the presentations in the small community room we have now, you know that they can get really standing room only. It's just not ideal for that kind of use. And we also needed to make sure that the community room would be available for after hours use so that it could be used even when the library wasn't used. We identified that we needed some more welcoming areas, more of a living room feel for the library in places as well. When you walk into the library, it's inviting, but you're immediately hit with stacks. There's not. Let's see.
Well, welcome back our global audience to the Orono Town. Look, they haven't heard it before. I know you guys hear me say it at least once a meeting, but for
All right, here's the slide you were all imagining.
Perfect.
All right, great. The last item that we identified was at the same time that we knew that we needed to make space for the sometimes raucous and energetic activities of our children and teens in the space. We also wanted to make sure that we had a quiet reading area, somewhere that someone who wanted to go and read the paper or read a book could sit and be comfortable doing so. So we had identified that as a need as well. I mentioned the work areas, expanded offices, with privacy available. If you all remember 2020, we went to a lot of meetings via Zoom. And our staff right now are all in the open. There's no privacy for any kind of Zoom meetings. And the state really now is doing a lot of our activity that is needed for the daily operations of the library in a way that was not, that really wasn't conducive to that. We wanted a break area. And we thought that maybe we could share the prep area and the break area with the community room. And we also needed more processing, receiving, and workspace. If you've used the library ability to request books, we're bringing in 5 totes at a time, 4 or 5 totes at a time, and those books all need to get sorted and so people can get those materials. And I mentioned that we needed additional space for shelving and collections. So we had what we called a seed campaign during which we raised initial funds to work on some designs, to work on our planning. And that led into a new capital campaign that we named Achieving the Vision, as Laurie had mentioned. It's an $8.6 million capital campaign. The foundation is looking to, or has secured, we applied for in March of 2023 and were awarded, included in the agriculture bill of the budget, congressionally directed spending, CDS funds, that were sponsored by both Senator Collins and Senator King to provide $3.6 million to help support our expansion. We're going to be raising, and we're well on our way of raising $2.4 million additional dollars in private donations, grants, and foundation giving. And we had previously approached the town and received support or a pledge of support from the town for $2.6 million to make up our $8.6 million capital campaign. So while that, and you'll hear more about the capital campaign and an update from our campaign manager a little bit later in the agenda. But one of the things that we wanted to take you all through, that really brought us up to the last couple of years where we have had two major activities going on. We have a really great capital campaign committee that has been out talking to donors, raising funds, talking up the library. And at the same time, we have the building committee that Laurie had mentioned that has been working with our architect, Haley Ward, to go through a very iterative process of coming up with plans for our library. So let me get this to show. Great. So we've gone through multiple phases and multiple design rounds for this library expansion. We had an initial design round where we worked to come up with a design that met the needs that we had identified, that added our community room, added additional adult space, added additional children's space. And much of that work that was all accomplished in our initial design, but much of that design had the work placed in the front of the building. And it met our needs, but it also was reliant on radically redesigning the existing facility. If you see there, you can kind of see in blue the existing facility with the additions added on in white. Those all redesigned roof lines, they redesigned walls, they added a whole bunch of things, they moved bathrooms around. So it was going to be not only the addition space, but also renovations of over 2/3 of our existing structure. We worked with, and there were some great things about that. It kept the majority of the additions on the street side. It didn't interfere with the village green, and we liked the design. But when we worked with our third-party cost estimators, it really became clear that it was an impractical design based primarily on the amount of renovation that we were doing to the existing structure. It was just basically taking the existing building and really blowing it apart and putting it back together again in different places. And that was being a major cost driver. And the committee also was beginning to feel like maybe we needed to not get rid of as much of our existing building and do more just to add on to what we had. So we went back to the drawing board and came up with what we're calling Design 2, which still met all of the needs. It was a new concept, and the goal here was to minimally impact the existing structure. Rather than taking down walls, we wanted to add on to the outside of the structure with only doorways, and most of those are actually based on where existing windows or doorways are now to attach onto the building, so that we weren't going to be redoing the entire roof line. We weren't going to be redoing the slab. We weren't going to be doing a lot of that. And So to do that, we did move the community room from one side of the front to the other. We moved off the back, and I'll show you some closer up so you can see where we finally arrived at the very end of all of this. But what we did, one of the things that we also really liked about this design was that we were back on track for budget. And we had a big improvement on both reuse of the existing facility. We weren't removing a lot of it. We weren't sending as much to landfill. We weren't going to be doing that. And we had a big improvement on what we felt was usability. By moving the community room near our existing meeting room, our existing bathrooms, we could reuse a lot of the infrastructure we already had. We also had the concept, I am going to back up just a here, right? Of keeping the existing building and using that, repurposing the entirety of the existing building to be our main collection and adult services space, and collocating and bringing together our teen, our young adult, and our activity and our children's spaces all in a single expansion. And that really seemed to be a good idea for usability and for ability for staff to manage. One of the big cons that we discovered with this plan was that it was very close going off the back to the large ravine. If you have walked around the back of the library, you know that there's a large gully ravine. And we discovered through our engineering work that and test borings that the soils behind the library are very poor. They're primarily fill. Some of it appears to be dating back to when Birch Street School and also the parking lot next to Birch Street School were being constructed. So it's loose material. It's not really good for building on. Some of the places it was loose aggregate fill or loose fill down 17 to 20 feet deep. And it's worse as you approach the ravine. And it gets better. The front of the building was pretty good. But it gets better as you approach Birch Street School and the parking lot. So that led us, and so we did look at what the solutions could be for building on poor soils. And the major solution and what we look like we'll be going with is something called RAPs, or rammed aggregate piers. And basically it's a series of holes drilled on a grid where you drill the holes through the poor soils, then you add in aggregate, crushed rock, stone, and pound it down, and it's self-engineering that you can keep pounding it down until it stops pounding, and then it's solid. And you do that on a grid. That does add some cost to our buildings, but it's within the amounts that we originally have budgeted for our capital campaign. However, it also required us to move, instead of being right up against the ravine, it required us to move the rear wing farther over, kind of so it came off the middle of the building. Doing that still met a lot of our needs, but it caused one major headache. And that major headache is that it would take out a major portion of the village green without providing us an alternate location on site to relocate the village green if we needed to remove that. We have a really tough site there. There's a lot going on. It's small and the soils are not great. So we then decided that if we were already going to be impacting the village green, we needed to be able to relocate it to have that community resource available because it's going to be such an important resource. So we're calling this Design 3. I'd probably call it Design 2.5. But so then from there, we came up. Oh, yeah. And there were a couple other things about this design as well. We had 3 levels of building, so we had to account for moving from one part of the building through 3 levels. We had a doorway that we needed to build additional ramping to get to. So we decided that we still weren't there yet. So we went back to the drawing board, and we've come up with what we're now calling our final design. As you know, no design is completely final until the walls are in place, but this is what we have now for our current final design. And I'll show some more details of this. But what we did is we moved the expansion from the west side near the ravine to the east side behind the library, roughly where the village green is. So we know that that means that we're impacting the village green, but we have also identified in the upper corner an alternate site for the village green that meets the same size and actually fits the topography of the land pretty well there as well. So we'll be able to relocate the village green as part of this project. I'll go into some of the details more, but it allowed us to have an activity room and a teen room, keeping the community room at the front. And then we do have one level down to go into the children's space where there's stairs or a ramp from the existing building in the teen area down to the children's space. But it allowed us also to move the entryway into the children's space to a location so that we don't need to deal with large ramps and long ramps to get people up and into the building. So we have a couple images here. And actually, rather than showing these, I'm going to do a really quick tour of the site before I hand it over to Lindsay. And so if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them now that I've kind of made through that while I'm walking us through. Yeah. Debbie.
We still get workspace for the.
Yes. Good question. What we have here is the front of the building of this new current design. And in the front of that building, you can see the blue footprint is the existing building. Pretty much, except for right in the very back, is not really being impacted on, and that's just the entryway in the back that's being impacted on right now. But so what we have is right now we have where all of the staff offices are and the staff break room. That space gets repurposed to be the staff workroom. That's where receiving will be. That's where but there won't be offices in that space. So that space will, or a kitchen. That space will now be the workspace. And what we've been able to do is over here on the front, we have a large community room for community events. It would be accessible through the main entrance and a hallway constructed through our existing meeting room, which still leaves the back half of the meeting room for small meeting room space available after hours. It makes the existing bathrooms available after hours. And then we have storage, 2 new restrooms to add to our bathrooms, and a staff break room where we will be able to have, the kitchen space and all of that. So the staff do have that additional space. Over here on the side, with doorways that are currently windows but will be doors, we have a add-on, an addition off to the side that will be the quiet reading room. So with comfortable seating and the ability to sit there and read books. We have Laurie's current office is being reused as a new staff office with the circulation desk remaining where it is. And the corner where large print is, that's going to be closed off to be a new director's office. And then we also have some tutoring space available. But all of this becomes the adult collection space. So where adult collections now kind of stop here, they expand out to fill this full space, including the reading room. We then move into the rear additions, and that would be entered through a hallway. And we have an activity room, flexible activity room space here, and then a great teen space here with a second small room, for gaming or for other activities within the teen space, and additional bathrooms. Beyond that, we come into where the children's room is. And so this area right here, the teen room and the activity room is on the same level as the main library. And then we have a drop of, I believe, 6 feet that we accomplish either with stairs or with a ramp. And that brings us into our children's area with a children's circulation area, the children's librarian, children's and young adult librarian space here, space for story hour in over here. We have an adventure puppeteer reading corner over here. And this has significantly additional size space for materials for the children as well. And then we also have a new entrance being built off the side at the ground level, at the same level with the children's room, where you can come in. There'll be space for parking strollers, so keep them out of the rain. And you come in and you can either go up the stairs or walk right into the children's area right next to the circulation desk. So it has some really good flow as well. And then we have, so right here, if you can see where my mouse is moving, right there is about where just to orient you in space, that's about where the gazebo is in the back right now. Pergola. It's not a gazebo, it's pergola. Where the pergola is in the back right now. So that kind of tells you where we'd be coming through. And so then we would be looking at moving the village green to here using kind of the back half of that hill. And going over with the performance area kind of near the ravine, but that's not a load-bearing location in the same way that a building would be. And that would also be accessible from the library, from a redesigned patio space, so people could watch it from the patio space or enter it from the parking lot off the side.
Is there a path to it from Pine Street as well?
Yep.
To the right? Yeah.
Yep, the existing path would bring you right to it. If you were coming from downtown, you could turn in right at the path right before you get to the library.
What are you going to do with Jeff Gordon's tree? Does he have a tree? Is there a tree dedicated
Yeah,
to Jeff there?
we've talked to Jeff. We'll be looking at and we've actually, I believe, already started the conversations with the master gardener and the gardening group and the tree group so that we can identify what needs to be replaced, but what also can be moved and saved. So that we can relocate it if needed.
I'm kind of a stickler for preserving things dedicated to past council
Yeah,
chairs.
well, okay, and so one thing, yes, and one thing that's really important, and our campaign manager would be horrified if I didn't mention this. One of the things that we have kept with all of these plans is that any spaces, any named areas, trees, walkways, corners in the library, shelving units, those, if they are being moved or impacted by this, will be relocated. No one is going to lose their bench that, that they had named or their tree that we had named for them. We'll make sure that there is, if it gets moved, it would get moved. Yeah.
I had another question just about the Village Green relocation. I was just at the space last week and it occurred to me that we might either have gorgeous sunsets we're looking at or real serious glare in our eyes when we're sitting watching evening concerts, which are held in the green a lot. So is someone doing any kind of assessment about that and how the light is going to be an issue as we're looking west, I think straight into the sunset there?
Anecdotally,
Yeah.
Anecdotally, right now where the Village Green is, it's the performer that gets the sun in their eyes. So now the audience will probably get some sun. I mean, it's a little more angled, so maybe not as much, but maybe they could wear big hats.
Yeah. I just didn't know if we were looking at.
And one of the things where we have it we don't have it fully off the side, we have it kind of at that angle, that actually should help with that as well. Yep. So, yeah, no, thank you. Deb? Yeah, Debbie.
Wondering, seeing how close that space is to the kitchen door of the Birch Street School. And in terms of, I'm assuming that there will be more use of spaces. And is there anything that we can do about parking, or is there any plan for parking? Because we know that particularly on Wednesdays and Saturdays, parking is a huge problem.
Yeah, so this does not add parking, but it doesn't take any away. We're not impacting into the parking there. I don't know if you have.
We did discuss this at our last building committee meeting because one of the reasons why we can't add more spaces is because the trucks need to get in to empty the dumpsters. In the past, we have looked for another space for those dumpsters. I don't know if there is space on that property or if there's another solution. So if we can find another solution to those dumpsters, we could add spaces, maybe 5 or 6. But really, that property is limited. So,
And then just after the tour, I'll give you a couple of the quick. So this is a view of the, yeah.
Moving the new wing over, take care of your soils.
It very much does, yes. Because we will still probably end up using the rammed aggregate piers to help make sure that the base is there so that we've built the building that will last the test of ages. However, when it was in the middle and much more when it was on the side, the engineers were unsure that there wouldn't be a possibility of like a side blowout, even with those piers. As we've moved it so far over, there's no possibility for that happening. So we're able to, take advantage of the fact that we don't have to go as deep because the soil borings are shallower as you get toward that parking lot, as you get towards the Birch Street School. And we're no longer near the ravine where, we have a danger of subsidence. So this, just to give you a quick view, this is a rendering of what the building might look like from the road as you're coming from downtown toward the road. So you see the existing parking spaces, the existing entryway, and the new community space. Let me see, can I get there? There we go. This is a view basically from the Birch Street School area, kind of looking back at the building. So you can see the children's story area, the new entrance, and the adult or quiet reading room here, and the front of the building there. And finally, the only reason I'm being slow is my Zoom controls keep covering over my tabs. So there we go. And so here is a view from the performer space, looking back up at the Village Green, past the children's wing and up to the patio area. This is the existing utility storage and staircase that we have. Yeah, Rue. Yeah.
Handicap accessible?
Yeah, so that was one of the issues with moving moving it all the way over. That actually improved some of our ability for that. So the entryway that we have into the children's area, that will be accessible. So you can get into that area without having to then take a ramp to get to the children's area. You could still access the main library either through that ramp or from the front entrance as you can now for accessibility. And that's how you'd access the patio, much like you would access the patio now. And so for viewing events, you'd either access the patio through the building or just come around the side of the building on either side to get to the ground level at the Village Green performance area. Yeah, question. Yes. It's only one floor. Some of the things I didn't cover, one of the earliest design, maybe design 0.5, actually was multi-story. And that had a lot of issues, including multi-story had issues with being able to monitor the site, having to provide accessibility to the site. So the children's room actually has very large open ceilings. We are working with the designers, though, to make sure that we have noise dampening as well. So it's not going to just be a echoing cavern, but it should be a really open and inviting space. Yeah.
There, the patio is really protected. I mean, it's got buildings coming down two sides of it, right?
Yes.
So if you're out there, it will be as windy as it is right now?
That would be, I would think that that's the case. I don't know. I haven't been on the patio enough to know where the prevailing winds are. But yeah, it should be more protected. It should be more protected there. We'll still have I think we'll still have the sunshade, because people like that as the sail shade that we have. So. And I will be around at the end to have questions, but I know we have two more portions that we want to talk about because one of the important parts that we have, Lindsay will be coming up to talk about some sustainability initiatives that we're taking part in as part of our plans and expansion. So there you go. And you can just use the.
Hi, Lindsay Varnum, Assistant Director and Youth Services Manager. And
Hi, I'm Megan Hess, the Environmental Services Manager.
we wanted to talk briefly about the something really exciting we're starting at the library about really working to be more sustainable. And in January of this year, we decided to sign on to be a part of the Sustainable Library Initiative. This is something that started in New York. There are libraries throughout the country that are part of this SLI community, and also throughout the world too. There's some in Europe, there's one in Australia. So this really is a worldwide initiative to make sure that the libraries are sustainable as libraries, but also part of sustainable communities. And for sustainability, they really are taking three components: environmentally sound, socially equitable, and economically feasible. And where those three things come together, that's sustainability. Excellent. So the SLI mission statement is empowering library leaders to advance environmentally sound, socially equitable, and economically feasible practices to intentionally address climate change and co-create thriving communities. So that's their mission statement. And our mission statement just was perfectly aligned with it. We did not have to change anything. So right out of our mission statement is the mission of the Orono Public Library brings people, ideas, and knowledge together to inspire lifelong learning and strengthen community. So we saw these things as really great partnership. Okay, so under the Sustainable Library Initiative, there's what's called the Sustainable Library Certification Program, and this is something that we are a part of as well. This is for libraries who really want to take an extra step and become certified and go through a very long process to make sure that the practices inside the building and outside the building are sustainable and that we are part of a sustainable community. So it's a big deal. It is a long process. And the question is, why are we starting it now? And this is a question I did ask two libraries that in Maine that have already done this. I'm like, is this too much for us to be taking on as we are expanding a library? And they said, nope, this is perfect timing. So here we are. So why now? Because we can make informed decisions regarding the building expansion. So I'm learning a lot about things I didn't know about sustainability wise that now I can bring to the building committee and Lori can bring to the committee as decisions are being made about the design inside and outside. Across the board, the libraries that participate in the SLCP say that they can use this body of work for grants, which I think is going to be very important moving forward. We believe that climate change affects all of us, and we want to do our part to help combat that, I guess. We believe that Orono community values sustainability. That's something we've seen at the library. There's a growing interest in that. And then libraries have always needed to adapt and evolve. And this is just one more area that we can be evolving to be a leader in the community. Libraries are already seen as a leader, so we can add this as maybe an avenue for us to be a leader. We can really show how you can be sustainable in small and big ways.
Yeah, so I really just want to hit home that this is the perfect time to be doing this when you're talking about sustainability. So with this building expansion, not only are we considering, how's the envelope of the building going to be, how tight is it going to be? Think about like weatherization, right? Where the window is going to be placed. Not only is it that, but you're also looking at operations and how you're going to be moving through that building, that is also sustainability. So we don't want to forget about those things as well. This is really a holistic approach. So if you think about where trees might be planted after the fact, will that shade the building and help keep it cooler? Just to give you a couple examples, and we will talk about a couple examples in a little bit as well, but also things like where are we purchasing materials from? Where are we going to be placing floodlights outside so that you're not getting light pollution, right? It's really starting to think about all of these things that encompass sustainability and not just weatherization and building.
So they broke down all of the action items into categories for the certification. So these are the different categories that we have tasks to complete in. So you can see it's a very expansive list. And it's going to take time. So it's just, I mean, it can be a little bit overwhelming to look at because we're really diving into some pretty major things and relationship building and all of that. It takes time. But the good news is we're already doing a lot. So some libraries who might be starting at the ground level, they would be in a worse position than we are. We are really lucky. We already have a ton of things in place. So for example, the top left, that's our receipt paper. We already have changed to environmentally sound receipt paper, better than what we were using before. We have plants inside our space. We might not take that big plant to the expanded library, but we will have plants in our space. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, some of the facilities, custodial and things like that are already using environmentally friendly cleaners. When they're cleaning different spaces, they don't use aerosols for certain reasons, for air quality inside. Our pesticide-free zones, so the town already doesn't use pesticides in a sense of we have our stormwater management plan, and so we just naturally don't use things like this. And those are easy check marks, as well as kind of looking at the lights already outside the building and using that dark sky example again with the light pollution.
The top right is a picture of our library, and that actually checks 3 boxes. Our color of the building is light. We have a bike rack, and you can't really see it, but there is a trash receptacle. So those are 3 tasks. We don't have to invest money right now on a bike rack because we already have it. So like I said, we're pretty lucky. And then the bottom left, one of the tasks is creating a pollinator garden. Well, we are already lucky enough to have a pollinator garden on site. And not only do we have it on site, we already have programming. And that's what you see here is one of our programs with the youth garden program, already using our pollinator garden space. And then the bottom right is, if you've been to the library, you've seen that we've got recycling bins all over the place. So those are just a few of the things we already have going on. This process takes 18 to 24 months on average. So it is a long time, but really there's no specific end date. So if it takes us longer than 24 months, we are not penalized in any way. We finish it when we finish it. The goal is to become certified and make sure that we're sustainable. So as long as that takes, it takes. So our plan is to continue working with the Orono's Environmental Services Department and the Facilities Division of Public Works, which we've already been doing. Megan has been a huge help. We are in such good shape because of the partnership that we have with our Public Works and our Environmental Services Division. We are looking and improving our policies and practices. We, like I mentioned before, will be offering input into the building expansion. We are going to be raising awareness about sustainable practices through programming and through just daily practices at the library. So you hopefully will be noticing in the future some changes that we're making. And then we are going to collaborate with local groups, organizations, businesses, and community members because it can't be just the library. This is a whole holistic approach. And just our overall goals, we want to contribute to making Orono a stronger and more resilient community to live, work, and play. We want the staff to make decisions using a sustainability lens. We want the staff to work with the foundation and building committee to make sure that our expansion aligns with the triple bottom line of sustainability. And we really want to make sure that we are immersed in the SLI community. This is not just a thing where we check the boxes, get certified, and are done. There's ongoing learning that will happen after the fact. Was there a page? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, great.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you. Any quick questions? Maybe we got a
Nothing.
question in the back.
Oh, that's a James question.
Yeah, so solar panels are one of the items that we have on our overarching wish list. Right now, the current plan for the solar panels is that as part of our design process, the architect is going to be designing the solar panels, designing the array and what we need. And that is when we go out to bid, which we'll be hearing a lot about, I think, from Clint in just a moment. One of the things that we're going to be doing when we go out to bid is have the core bid and then the add alternates. And the actual panels themselves are an add alternate. So the design is there. It really depends on what our bids come in, whether they'll be part of that initial thing. I really hope they can.
Excellent.
I'm going to stop the share because I think you can take over, Clint.
Good. Now we're going to move on to item 4 on our agenda, which is what? Town of Orono role in the project?
Yeah, so thank you. Want to thank everybody here. I'm Clint DeShane, the town manager. Been here for working on my second year come this July. But again, with 100 years of planning, going back to the Carnegie project not ever happening, this has been a very long time project getting developed to the point where it's in. I've had about 20 months to catch up, and I've done a great job. And I want to start by thanking the staff that's been working on this, our outside consultants. I can't even begin to say that. And then all the community members and all of you here tonight. This is why we know we've got a good project. As a new manager, you wonder where the project's at because I didn't get to experience the evolution. Lori has been amazing, as in everybody else, in keeping me informed and learning new things every day, which is what I love to do. So my role on behalf of the town is kind of in the layers, I would say, of this project. There's a lot of things they presented to you, but it starts with this was a foundation project. We are working with the USDA for CDS funding, which means that the town as the owner has to play a significant role as we move forward. The town council has agreed to the plan where we're contributing the bond proceeds that we are going to work towards funding this fall, 2.6 million. We're working on that schedule. I am working on that weekly with the finance team, but the council's authorized a plan for us to go forward that I have to bring back. We need to get all the rate schedules. We need to get the actual calendar in place, the timeline. And we have to have town approval so that when we go out to bonding, they're issued. We cannot go out to bond and then decide afterwards if we like them. We have to go out. We have to say we're definitely doing it, and then you go get the bids, and we accept the low bid. So that packet's being built as we speak. The timeline's kind of pushed off, and one of the things I like to share on these constructions is we have a promise we have to give to get projects done within a period of time. We're trying to package multiple items together, sewer work, a library, some road work. And again, the sewer's got a mixture of not only lines, but also equipment. Those have different timelines. Short version, our goal is to spend the money within 2 years from the date we got it, or have a plan where we're going to execute it very close there too. So we're delaying a little bit right now as I get the time schedule back to the council so that we can time this, that when we go to bid, that this project will start construction. Agreed with everybody that no one's starting sooner than the fall on breaking ground. And if they do, none of the funds will be needed earlier than the fall. And we're also working with the pieces of how we fund this. This project's total is about $8.5 million. And how do we fund the balance? The foundation's working on their fundraising, which we'll bring up someone soon to speak to you on how they're working for their portion as well. But the grant and the match is completely satisfied. Now we're just working on the other fundraising efforts. From there, the layers get into the operations. How are we going to operate this facility, and working with all the other staff teams that look at this, and the ideas. The ideas are not stopping. I've had conversations recently with the director and the town clerk on new ways and new innovative approaches on how we can use a library to benefit this community. So that's going to be ongoing and will evolve over time, just like we all do. The needs will change 20 years from now, and we'll adapt to those. But this building's being designed in such a way to be able to meet those evolving and changing needs. I can't move on without saying that this has been challenging. The site has caused a lot of issues, starting with the fact when we got here, we had a great plan. We were beginning the fundraising through the silent campaigns, and we found out that the design we did exceeded the budget to a number that, and as was well shared by James, far exceeded what we could adapt to. We were in the 2.9, the $1 million addition for an increase. So with the new layouts, we realized quickly that we couldn't shrink it and meet our goals. We were going to have to sacrifice again. And so as a new manager, seeing what this community had done some 20 years ago, it was time to not look at a sacrifice and seeing if we could push forward. So we worked with that building committee team and others. And the good news was, James shared, we got a design that puts us pretty close, but right on budget. Now we are having final estimates to do, and now we're looking at 3.1, I guess I'll call it, the final one that you've seen here tonight, that final design, and that's got to go to cost estimating, which will start in the coming month. Right after we finish up here, we get the final designs from the engineers. Those are then sent off to the cost estimator, and then we will work towards the schedule for putting it out to bid. Goals for bidding vary. It's going to depend where the estimates, but the earliest bid would be early summer, more likely late summer. And depending on how we're doing, we have a check-in date for July to really look at the bid dates to confirm what's the best scenario for the town and how to move forward. So we do not have a firm date of when we should go out to bid. We have a goal to reassess in July and determine that. With these bids, there's a lot of things on the alternates list. The council saw a capital program tonight and has approved it, that component. And again, a capital program doesn't spend money. It tells us where our goals and visions are. Took every item on the alternates bid list and included it in the library section. So if they're unable to meet that cost and the budget won't do it, we're not leaving those behind. We're going to remember them and look at that. Budget is tight. So what happens? This will be a question I would ask if I was a resident. What if the budget comes in? What if we're over? To lay out the process, the foundation started us off. The town's in the second round. So we've laid out some understanding when I got here is how does the foundation work with the town? The town's got to own it. The foundation's getting it designed. That's what we've agreed. We're getting all the way through as a team, collaborating so that we get to a design that meets everyone's needs. The town can operate it. Hopefully it's on budget. And then once it goes out to bid, if the bid comes in without a correct budget or over budget, we'll work as a team again. But again, the town has to meet its financial obligations. So we will work hard. Hopefully it comes in under budget and we can talk about the things on the alternate list we can add back, and we'll communicate those to you to meet, our goals as a community to share and be transparent. One of the ideas that's being vetted is a alternate list that talks about phasing if necessary. I think we'll intend to bid the entire project as a whole, but before we put out the actual bids, it will be important to know whether any portion of this could or should be phased. That would mean that we don't sacrifice any of the design and we just kind of look at it from what we can do. Maybe our fundraising goals are a little short of our goal come the time we bid it. That's another reason why we might have to consider it. But right now, those are all on the contingency planning. And in being transparent is sometimes telling you our weaknesses, and I'm sharing those weaknesses with you. We have them. Any large project of this size would have those. We're prepared for them, doing our best, putting them down, writing these ideas out, and then addressing them as they come. So those are the issues we've looked at. There are a lot of concerns. Many meetings between myself and the key building committee members are saying, how do we get there? This has got so many challenges. And all I could say is this is by far the best team I've ever worked with. They are so prepared for every issue. I've never seen more detail or thoughtfulness put into a single project, whether it's what you've heard here tonight or every single decision of where things go. The design team that we're working with, Bowerbird, was mentioned earlier. From a manager's perspective, it can be frustrating because you want schedules to be met and keep moving, but they do make improvements, everything they suggest. One of the ones that's come up, and I want to share this because it usually falls into my lap most, was what kind of flooring can we put in the community room? As it stands today, the community room will be met for its sound goals and qualities so that it will meet the needs of the library. It has been suggested by far the best use if we ever want to do something different in there, like have an event with dancing, that a portable floating floor is much better, because a hard floor in that community room would not be good for the majority of use, which is the day-to-day library user. That was a tough decision, but that's where we stand today. We're still looking as we get to the final design, but those are the ideas that we've come forward with. We do have other facilities in town that are great for those other uses, and for now, we continue to pursue those. But again, having options available to us is something that I'm proud to say we've looked at. Overall, that's where we're at in the bonding process and the total budget. I can pause here a little bit, but also I'm here to invite up Alicia Nichols as the campaign director for the foundation.
Let's do that. And then given the time, and we
Okay.
still got at least a half an hour of council work to do after the workshop. So let's proceed with that if we could.
Is that online?
I am online, Clint. Thank you. So I anticipate I will not
We have
be
a question online.
screen.
Cody, do you have?
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay, Dan.
Diana, you want to jump in real quick with your question, and then we'll.
Sure, I'm happy to jump in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Diana Bombach, and I just had a question about whether or not there are any plans to integrate artwork into the new building.
Someone will come up. Yes, there are, but somebody can give you a much better answer than I can.
Yes. So am I talking? Yeah. So the real quick answer is that the community room is being designed with the wall space to be used as gallery space. And actually, we already have had a naming opportunity that has been group funded but continues to be open for additional group funding to name the gallery space within the community area to honor our librarian who has worked at the libraries for 40 years, Laurie. So we do have a named space dedicated for art in the community room named for Laurie.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be in touch, Diana, right? No,
Yeah,
I'm teasing.
absolutely.
That wasn't, no, I'm kidding with you. Thank you for your question and thanks for tuning
Okay.
in.
Thanks.
All right. Yep. Now we're going to hear from Alicia.
Okay, great.
Lisa?
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, Alicia.
If Clint is done. Wonderful. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm not on screen, but I am here. While I live in Pittsfield now, Orono was my first hometown, and it always has a piece of my heart. So it's great to be sharing this update with you. Alicia Nichols, campaign manager. I have a 2-minute update, so it's not going to take long. The Orono Public Library Foundation's campaign update begins with gratitude. The foundation is grateful to the Orono Town Council for their approval in December 2023 of a $2.6 million pledge to the library expansion campaign, Achieving the Vision. Thank you. We are grateful to the 153 donors who've contributed $7.45 million to the campaign. And we're grateful for the resolute work of our Capital Campaign Committee. I know many of them are there with you tonight. Karen Busayas, Ed Brazee, Lori Carpenter, Connie Carter, Jeff Hecker, George Jacobson, and Cass Wright. Some members of our committee have been securing major gifts for the campaign since 2021. As we are still in the major gifts phase, they continue to talk with people about making a gift of $5,000 or more to the campaign. The dedication of the committee to the library is extraordinary. We have $1.1 million to raise by the end of July 2026. The campaign plan includes multiple phases: a major gift phase, which is currently underway, a foundation grants phase, and a business phase. Each phase has its own dollar goal projected to raise the funds to reach the $8.6 million goal. When we reach 90% of the campaign goal, or $7.7 million, we will launch the community phase to complete the campaign by July 31, 2026. Now, during the community phase, we will fill the library with information about the campaign, invitations to give, we'll host events, and promote campaign news in both traditional and social media. This phase will help us complete the campaign with energy and excitement. We welcome you to visit our website where you can find complete information on the campaign. That is oronolibraryfoundation.org. And again, thank you for the opportunity to present this update and for your incredibly generous support.
Thank you, Alicia. Any questions from members of council for Alicia? Okay. So thank you for that. Did we have any questions for the town manager about the timeline and process? So we'll have votes in front of us, the bonds coming forward, and then
My next deliverable to you is a schedule for the bonding, and I'm waiting on that to be affirmed based upon the new dates, but I had an email on it just last Friday.
did you say fall of 26 for construction?
Issuance, fall 26 for issuance, and we know for a fact we'll have construction on the sewer side, and then on the, and again, a small portion of this goes towards the police station.
All right, well, that's no fun, but, no, I mean, it needed to be done, but it wasn't, for those who joined us at 5:30, we had a lengthy and a fabulous conversation about the police station that's going across the street too. So, I know that there's a lot of thanks to go around, but particularly appreciate, the town staff's willingness to work through iterations and learn and kind of acknowledge that there are challenges, but we're going to work through them together because we make decisions together in Orono. And I think it's great that we have that commitment around this project. So that leaves us to public comment. We're at an hour plus now on the conversation, but we certainly welcome anybody have anything they'd like to share that hasn't had an opportunity. It's wonderful to see this show. I mean, people speak by showing up. That's something too. So thanks for being here. Cody, we have somebody online? Okay, can you move Judy over? Hey, Judy.
Hi. At selling point for this project, I am a reader. I don't read, I devour books. But for me, the library is, and new libraries are taking this role on. I think it's really important and relevant for Orono that the library is not a book depository, it's a community center. That word community has been used off and on all evening, but I think it needs to be a focus. The additions, the rooms, especially the community room, the activities that take place in the library are community builders. And I think taxpayers who are saying, I don't read, I read online, I don't need the library, my taxes don't need to go to the library. Then maybe if you just really stress the idea of this as being a community center. There's so many activities that go on in that building all day and into the evening. And so many of them have to do with bringing people together. And many of those people who come for an event, for something that has nothing to do with physical books, meet other people that they would not have met anywhere else in town. You can hold just so many conversations in the aisles at Hannaford, but you need a community center, and Orono does not have one. There is no meeting place in this town which stresses the need for community except the library. And I think people who might be a little reluctant to have their tax money going toward books or CDs or whatever, or who don't have kids who enjoy story hour, if this can be pitched as a community center, a community gathering place, a place to meet your neighbors, in fact, that might be at least one way of approaching getting positive feedback for the bond issue.
Thank you, Judy. And we have one other, Matthew. Bringing him over. Good evening, Matthew.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
My name's Matthew Carter, and I'm actually the lead architect on this project. And I just wanted to offer to the the previous person that was talking. I mean, this building has many features in it that are community oriented.
Yep.
There's a idea in the design of libraries that basically they're like community living rooms. It's where you go to be quiet, but be with people, listen to books, do activities, and this building has spaces all through it that are for that. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate
Sure.
your work on the project.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Lori's coming back up to.
I just wanted to say thank you to the council for having this workshop, and also thank you to everyone who came today to show your support. I think that we are in a good place with lots of community support. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your work. We'll wrap up the work session and thank everybody for coming. We are gonna, the next item on our council meeting agenda is the Heart of Orono Maine Committee. So I see people